One of the most common things that people say to me when I talk to them about my grandfather, Glenn Doman, they say something like, how is it that he never received a Nobel Prize? And I get this question a lot. I've probably heard it hundreds of times at this point. And so I want to discuss in this video what are 5 things that he should have been awarded the Nobel Prize for. And I have to say that when I was choosing these 5 things, there were a lot of things I had to leave off the list that I think it could definitely be argued that he deserved a prize for. Okay, so let's start with number 1, and that is his creation of one of the most amazing pieces of equipment known in the treatment of special needs children, something we now call, in his honor, Glenn's Ladder. Glenn's Ladder is an amazing treatment tool because it takes one of the enemies of special needs children, and especially in the mobility development of special needs children, which is gravity, right? Gravity pulls all of us down toward the center of the earth. And the problem is, for many special needs children who have great difficulty in moving, gravity makes it very difficult for them to begin the process of crawling on their belly, creeping on their hands and knees, getting upright, and walking. And so what Glenn's Ladder does is it takes the enemy of gravity and makes it into a friend. So the child can hold on to the ladder using their hands, and gravity helps straighten the child out. And so the ladder helps the child over time learn how to balance themselves and learn the correct movement for cross-pattern walking. And as they walk under Glenn's Ladder, many times, the child's brain learns how it feels to walk. And I've seen many times children walk off of the ladder for the first time and begin to walk independently. There are hundreds, maybe even thousands of children today who can walk because of Glenn's Ladder, who never would have walked otherwise. So that's why Glenn's Ladder is number 1 on this list. Number 2 is his creation of the Incline Floor. The Incline Floor, like Glenn's Ladder, takes the enemy of gravity and makes it into a friend. This is a treatment tool which is used for children who are immobile, typically children with severe brain injury, cerebral palsy, developmental delay, and they cannot yet move. So what the Incline Floor does is, because it is inclined, it allows the child, even if they make slight movements with their arms and legs, to begin the process of crawling down the floor. Again, for most children with special needs who cannot move, if you just put them on the ground, they'll try to move their arms and legs, but they won't move forward at all. And they will often stay immobile for months or years because of this. Some children will never move. And the Incline Floor, again, teaches the child that when they move their arms and legs, they move slightly down the inclined floor, and it begins the process of crawling. And so over time, children get better and better at crawling down the inclined floor until they can crawl off and begin the process of doing it on the flat floor. And that is the start of a child gaining independent movement, learning how to crawl, then they can learn how to creep, and then learn how to walk. So the inclined floor has been step number 1 for thousands of children in learning how to move, and that's why it is number 2 on this list. The third thing that should have earned Glenn Doman a Nobel Prize was his creation of the Doman Method reading program. The Doman Method reading program teaches children how to read using sight words, right? So using whole words, we have effectively taught thousands of children with special needs and thousands of well neurotypical children how to read well before they are school age. And it's remarkable that my grandfather discovered this in the 1960s, because it wasn't until last year where functional MRI, brain imaging, showed that the area of the brain that we use, that humans use to read words, which is called the visual word form area of the brain, is developed at birth. So Glenn Doman discovered over 50 years ago that tiny children could learn how to read, even learn how to read words before they could speak. And honestly, he was vilified for this. He was called crazy. Like, who says that kids with special needs can learn how to read if they're nonverbal? Who says that, a tiny 2-year-old could learn how to read? And he was called crazy, but he was brave. He wrote his book, How to Teach Your Baby to Read, to teach the world about it. 5 million parents have now bought that book and used it. And there are now tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of children who learned how to read using that program, including myself. And so the fact that he was 60 years ahead of his time with his Doman Method reading program, and now, all these years later, world literacy is still a major issue, but he was one of the most influential voices in early reading and definitely deserved a Nobel Prize for it. The fourth reason he should have gotten a Nobel Prize was his sensory integration program. The Doman Method has some of its most amazing results with children who have cortical blindness or cortical deafness. So these are children who cannot see well, cannot hear well, cannot feel well because of brain injury, because their brain development isn't normal. The results are staggering with our sensory integration program. Over 90% of children are learning to see, learning to hear, learning to feel with the very powerful sensory program that he established. And so the fact that there are now many adults who can see, hear, feel normally because of his sensory integration program, and children still today who would have lived a life of blindness and deafness who learned to see and hear because of his treatments, definitely should have earned him a Nobel Prize. The fifth and last thing was his creation of a new paradigm in treatment, which is teaching parents of special needs children, empowering them with knowledge to help the development of their children. He knew that parents love their children more than anyone else, and that parents play the biggest role in the development of their children. And so not only did he make amazing discoveries, he made sure to teach parents about those amazing discoveries so they could use it at home to help their children. Many other professionals in his place may have charged exorbitant prices for people just to learn about these things, but he made sure to write books and make the information as accessible as possible so people could gain from his incredible discoveries. And so those are just 5 of the reasons why Glenn Doman deserved a Nobel Prize.